Yellow. You ever been shopping for socks and then realize something? Why is one 10 times more expensive? Oh, it has a hole in it. Similarly, with more Hall effect or rapid trigger keyboards coming out, some are going to be more expensive, some are going to be much cheaper. And at a certain point, it becomes kind of difficult to decipher which one to choose, as some keyboards may offer better typing experience over gaming experience and some the opposite. But today I want to present an option that is, in my opinion, the best of both worlds. The Akko MOD007b. Can they use the 007 in their name? I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. This keyboard comes in 3 different colorways, the Tokyo one, Centenary, and the 7th anniversary one, and 2 special ones, but I'll mention those a bit later because they differ from these 3. Now, as you might have noticed before, I have the Centenary one, and by the way, Akko sent me this, but they did not pay me to say anything or tell me to say anything, so these are going to be my honest thoughts on the keyboard. All 3 colorways are spectacular, but for me, it came down to I just like the color blue. This keyboard currently only comes in the 75% layout, but I would say it is the best for those who don't want to sacrifice much, but still want to save some space. And it also has a knob, which instantly gives it plus 10 swag points. It does have a plastic chassis, but it is very solid. Even when I really try to flex it and bend it, whatever, it barely budges, so the build quality is fantastic. Now let's get on to the unboxing. The unboxing experience was great. The box is stylized specifically for the colorway you get. Once you take off the cover and open the box, you are instantly greeted with the board, and it is surprisingly heavy. Opening this small rectangular box, you get some extra things. A switch puller in this nice light purple color, which is a nice gesture, a separate keycap puller, a wireless receiver. Yes, this keyboard is also wireless. More on that later though. But what surprised me the most is that they included a coiled cable. This wire is actually so beautiful, and I've never seen a company add a coiled cable with their keyboard, and it definitely adds a nice flair to your setup. Unboxing score? 10 out of 10. Really, no complaints there. Now, as I said before, this keyboard is both wireless and wired. For wired connectivity, I've had no issues for the entire month I've been using this board. As for wireless, I played a bit of Osu and some other games with the 2.4 GHz receiver, and I didn't seem to notice inconsistent inputs or even delays for that matter. There's also a nice addition: you can press function plus space to check the battery of your board on the fly. As for Bluetooth, I don't know. I don't have that on my PC, but if you do have Bluetooth, brush your teeth, I suppose. I'd still suggest using the receiver, as they'll most likely be way less delayed than using Bluetooth. Now let's see how the keyboard sounds stock. Typing on this keyboard is godly. Recently I've been really busy with schoolwork and I've had to write a ton of papers, and this keyboard has made the process not only faster, but also more enjoyable. It feels so good to type with it, and it sounds amazing as well. I have done 0 modifications and can assure you that this is the best out-of-the-box typing and feel experience I've had with a keyboard ever, even beating the Wooding by a long shot. The keycaps, first of all, are very beautiful. They're double-shot PBT, so they're very durable and they're nice to type with and play games with, so no complaints with them either. The switches on my board are the Kale Sakura pink switches. They're obviously magnetic since this keyboard has the Hall effect technology. And here is where it gets a bit tricky. The Centenary comes with only the Kale Sakura switches, whereas the Tokyo and 7th anniversary both feature the Kale Sakura and Akko's yellow magnetic switch. On their website, the specifications show no difference between the switches, but after watching some typing tests online, which is not the best comparison obviously, it seems that the difference comes down to the actual sound and probably the feel, with the Kale Sakura sounding more deep and the yellow sounding more sharp. Overall, the typing experience is really good, and it is nice that keyboard companies have been making cheaper, better sounding keyboards in recent years, whilst also not sacrificing gaming performance. Speaking of which, considering most of my audience is comprised of OSU players, what you are probably most eager to see is the actual gaming performance of the board. For OSU Standard, whether it be wired or wireless, there was no noticeable difference. Even playing the same maps back to back, the UR showed the same sentiment. But where I found the most fun using this keyboard was in Mania. While I am no top player, I found so much enjoyment playing the mode again and improving in it, and I think the keyboard helped a lot. Obviously, attributing skill to peripherals is bad thinking, but I think having a new keyboard or a new anything really does make playing the same things different. In this case, in a positive way. Rapid Trigger was easy to set up and understand in the software, and it definitely works really well. The implementation of it is fantastic, especially for a game like OSU, where many top players utilize the feature to a really high degree. This also obviously means that for games like Counter-Strike and Valorant and Apex Legends, it will work very well as well. You can adjust the rapid trigger from 0.2 all the way to 2.5mm, which I would say is more than enough for anyone. The feel of the switches also made playing standard feel a lot different. Whereas I would usually play fast DT jump maps, with this keyboard I focused more on lower BPM stream maps. For some reason, the feel of the switches and the keycaps made playing stream maps feel so much more natural than something like the wooting. The easier consistency also translated to DT play, where it became easier to hit longer patterns as I wouldn't fall out of rhythm as easily. Obviously, this is some placebo talk, but I think it is important to note my experience as well. I want to comment on my experience with the board. To sum up, the performance, both wired or wireless, was nothing to scoff at. It was really good, and I think Akko did a really fantastic job of implementing Rapid Trigger. But let's talk a bit more about the technology. The software is fairly easy to understand. For switch customization, there are 3 presets. Comfort, which is just a standard 2mm activation and release profile. Then there is Sensitive, with a 0.5 actuation and 2mm release. Then there is the Gain profile, which is the same as the Sensitive one, but instead of having a release point, it has Rapid Trigger on. Then there's Customization, which was a bit tricky to understand, but once you get it, it is very simple. Basically, you can customize the activation point, release point, or add Rapid Trigger, and for specific keys. However, there are some negatives about the software that I quickly want to touch on, specifically the customization profile. There is technically only one custom profile. However, to combat this, you can select another layer and make another custom profile, so the issue is kind of solved, but not really. Another issue is that if you want specific keys to have specific actuation points, you need to select them and customize them individually. You cannot select a bunch at once and customize them at once. You have to customize them separately, which is a hassle. But there are other positives that I forgot to mention, like the dynamic keystroke. While many Rapid Trigger keyboards only have Rapid Trigger and that's it, Akko also features the dynamic keystroke option, just like the wooting. Although I don't use this feature, it is nice to know that this is an option available for if I ever decide to use it. Another great feature is profile sharing, so if you have a friend or other people online ask for your profiles, you can easily share them and get other people's profiles. So that's definitely a very great addition. Overall, the software gets an 8 out of 10 for me, because although it has its problems, most people really only care about Rapid Trigger, and for that, the software is very good and understandable, so 8 out of 10. It is hard to talk about Rapid Trigger keyboards without comparing them to the king of all, wooting. So how does the MOD007b compare to the wooting? Out-of-the-box experience definitely goes to the Akko. The typing experience and feel is not even close. Performance-wise, I would say it's a tie, and it more goes down to the individual. Wooting does have lighter switches and even lighter switch options than the Akko. So if you're weak, you can go with the wooting, or go hit the gym and choose the Akko. And if you also prefer better consistency and better feel, the Akko will definitely suit your needs better. Software-wise, I would go with the Wooding because it's easier to understand, but the Akko software isn't bad for any means. But where the Wooding also gets the edge is customization. But it's a double-edged sword. Considering the Wooding costs more than the Akko keyboard, plus if you want to, in my opinion, get to the same level as with the Akko keyboard, you'd need a lot more customizations, which would not only cost you money, but also time.
Oh, what about aluminum case that you can get for the Wooding? Huh? What about that? You can...
Well, you're in luck, because Akko has two versions with aluminium cases. Akko recently released the MOD007v3 HE Year of the Dragon, which is a, well, dragon-themed keyboard. And maybe you don't like that design. Well, no worries. Akko offers the MOD007b HE, which is an aluminium case in either black or cream color. And although these keyboards will be more expensive, especially the 007b HE with keycaps, remember they have an aluminium case, and if you were to buy an aluminium case for the Wooding, that would be way more expensive. So if you're someone who wants a good feeling keyboard with rapid trigger and not really much else, I would suggest the Akko keyboard, but you be the judge. I'm not you, I don't know what you want. This is my opinion and my recommendations for the general public. I don't think it's fair to compare this to the Wooding, not because one is better than the other, but because one is not trying to be like the other, and that's what I like about this keyboard. Akko really did an amazing job making this keyboard, from the good implementation of the Hall effect technology to having the best typing experience I have ever had with a keyboard, even beating my custom keyboard, which I have not used ever since I got this keyboard. I would say if you don't already have a rapid trigger keyboard and are looking for one that is good for regular use like typing, long papers, and gaming for long hours, then I can definitely recommend this one, as it is fantastic for both. If you are interested in this keyboard, you can head down to the description and check all 5 options out. There's a lot to choose from. And again, thank you Akko for sending me this keyboard. It was an amazing experience and it was lovely working with you. And thank you, the viewer, for watching this video. Peace out.